Well, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. This has been an amazing journey over the last couple months, and Wayne and I are both so grateful that you've joined us as we've taken this journey together. As we've weaved our way through the final week of the life of Jesus, this past Sunday we came to our destination. We stood together, we celebrated and experienced the empty tomb and all of the hope that it gives us. We've gone through a long journey. We've experienced all the buildup and all the emotion, expended a lot of energy on this journey. We finally made it to the tomb. We found it empty. And now we are a couple days later, and I'm wondering, what now? Anything that I would say today or at all this week seems kind of, I don't know, anticlimactic. It's so easy for us to make this journey once a year. We go through the events, we let it have its impact, and then we move on. And it drifts back into the background until next February or March. But I want to ask you not to do that just yet. I want us to see if we can make sure that we capture the lessons that we've learned the last few weeks. So let's sit in this journey just a little bit longer, intentionally pausing and reflecting on our experience. To help us do that, I'd like you to sit with 3 simple questions. Number 1, what have I learned about myself through this journey? We all have an understanding of who we are. We all have this sense of identity. It's formed by the voices that we listen to in large part. And we have voices from our past. We have the voices of others, and we have our own voice that are all telling us who we are and what we're about. Unfortunately, many of those voices aren't necessarily telling us good things about who we are. The voices of the past many times are reminding us of all of our failures, of the bad memories and the regrets that we have. There are voices of others that are telling us that we're worthless, that we've let them down in so many ways. And then there's our own voice telling us what we're not or what we'll never be able to be. You know the voices I'm talking about, don't you? Well, as we've walked through this journey together, there's another voice that's been speaking. The voice of one who knows us better than we even know ourselves. In his words of love, his words of comfort, and his words of reassurance are messages that I hope that you've heard as we've made this journey. His voice is telling you who you are. Have you listened? What have you learned about yourself? Secondly, what have you learned or what's been clarified for you about your role in this world? This journey has taught us about the way that Jesus interacted with people. It tells us about the way that Jesus has been called into this world. We watched step by step as God himself took on flesh and gave himself for the world. And we've watched him. We've watched him serve, and we've watched him love people who disappointed him. We watched him as he washed the feet of the very people that would betray, abandon, and let him down. And then we watched the way that he loved and gave himself for people who mocked him and hated him. So has that taught us anything about the people that God has placed in our lives? About the way that we could and should be interacting with them? Has this journey taught us anything about our role in the world and the way that we should react and serve and interact with the people around us? What has this journey taught us about our place in the world? And then finally, what has this journey taught you about the future? You know, we look at everything that's going around us and we see hopelessness everywhere. We think about the uncertainty in front of us and the way that we have so little control over so much of our lives and so much of our futures. And if we're not careful, we can really let despair and cynicism be the dominant story of our future, the dominant voice about our future. But as we've stood at the empty tomb, I wonder if we've heard anything different about our future. I was reading Matthew 28 a little bit earlier today, and in that text, the women came to the tomb, and I was really struck by the prominence of the word fear and afraid. The way that just dominates that text is really powerful. But here's the thing that really struck me. As the women depart, after they've heard the message of the angel, as the women depart, Matthew tells us that they leave afraid but joyful. And I can kind of identify with that. And maybe it is that they didn't understand the full scope of what this moment meant. I'm sure they didn't grasp it. And maybe there was a tinge of fear as they walked away from the empty tomb. But whatever their future held, and whatever this resurrection means, and whatever this empty tomb is going to require of them, what they knew deep down in their heart was that this is something good. In spite of all the uncertainty, in spite of what it may cost, in spite of all of where it may lead, they knew that this was something that brings joy. I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know where this whole thing's going, and I don't even know the ramifications totally of the death and the burial, the resurrection of Jesus. The fact that we're being invited into his story, I don't know what that all means and where it's going to lead for me or for you. And there is a bit of trepidation as we stand at the empty tomb. But as we walk away from that tomb and we walk away from this journey, I know that even though there's some trepidation, even though there might even be a little bit of doubt, we walk away with joy because we can know that wherever this story is leading us, wherever God is calling us, whatever God is going to demand of us, it's a good thing. So I walk into an uncertain future not alone, not with cynicism, but with hope and with the power of the one who brought Jesus from the dead. So what is it that this journey has taught you? What has it taught you about yourself? What has it taught you about your place in the world? And what has it taught you about your future? Take some time and reflect on the journey, reflect on those questions, and make sure you don't miss this moment. Don't waste this journey. And don't lose sight of the lessons that God would have for you today. We'll talk to you soon.